Hello, friends, and welcome to Thursday's edition of the Kings of Anglia pod. The sun is shining. I've got Saharan dust all over my windows. Don't know if you experienced any of that yesterday, boys. The red rain that we had with the Saharan desert dust, but it's all over Heath Tower's windows. Absolutely shocking. I'm your host, Mark Heath, and with me today are three Kings, three of the four, the five. I guess if you include me. I'm going to start today with our very own answer to Jason Statham, still being snubbed by Twitter for that elusive blue tick, the doctor of lifting weights, Stuart Watson. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I've seen a few people saying on the comment section, well done for finally embracing my baldness and shaving it off. I wasn't aware that I hadn't been doing that. It's been fully shaved for quite some time.
You've not been in denial for a long time. I don't think there was ever a period of denial, was there, with you, Watto, like you see with some people?
No, sometimes it might grow a few millimeters longer than necessary through laziness, but no, in general, I've never tried to cling on. That was a battle I knew I was losing early doors.
Outstanding. Someone who, in contrast, is extremely hairy all over his body, I'm led to believe. The boy, the prospect, the beard, Roscoe. My friend, you went with us on Monday. How are you?
I'm very well, and still very hairy, as you pointed out. Although, Stu, I want the beard back, my friend. I enjoyed the beard.
I like the beard. Yeah, I like the beard. Stu with a beard was hits different, as the kids say.
Yeah, James Collins.
Absolutely.
James Collins look, yeah.
Absolutely. And then finally this week, but by no means least, of course, the man Hutch Hogan, Andy Hutchzilla, Warren. Friend, how are you?
I'm all right, mate. I've got we talk a lot about hair on here, don't we? It's just come to my
It's the Manscaped thing.
Yeah, maybe it's that. We do talk a lot about hair.
You're freshly shorn yourself, aren't you? Just recently.
Yeah, last week. Yeah, I think we've actually already discussed my haircut on the podcast.
I can't remember what
as
we
well.
Talked about. I can't.
Yeah, once a month, cut it short, let it grow, job done, rinse, repeat.
Excellent, and you're looking very good. If you don't mind me saying. Right then, friends. Today, ahead of no midweek, or rather after the fact there was no midweek game, thus we need something meaty to get our teeth into. I thought what we'd do today is something we did as a written piece of content earlier this week. Kieran McKenna has now played 15 games as Ipswich Town manager. He's not technically played them, of course. The players have played them. And so earlier this week, I went back and took all of Andy Hutch Warren's match ratings over that time for players who qualified. So just remind me what you have to do to qualify. Let the listeners know. Hutchie, you have to play a certain amount of minutes in a game, don't you?
15 minutes.
So players who played at least 15 minutes in a game get a rating. Averaged all them out over the number of games they played. And came up with an average rating for each player over McKenna's first 15 games. Sam Morsey, I suppose unsurprisingly, was top of that particular rating with 7.5 average per game. And bottom of the heap was a certain James Norwood with a rather miserable 5.7 over the games that he's qualified for. Andy, you put those ratings together before we start getting into the nitty gritty of each player, because you're all gonna give them ratings over the piece. Does that sound about right to you? Morsey top, Norwood bottom over those 15 games?
Yeah, I was quite not surprised, but I was quite pleased with the order in which they came out when I saw that you'd written that up. You do kind of wonder how it all kind of knits together. As you know, player ratings is a vibe. It's a fluid, moving beast. Yeah, I think as you'll see when we do this, the numbers that I'm going to give the players now are going to be very different to what the average rating kind of came out as from the games. But yeah, I thought it was pretty decent order in the end.
Excellent. I'm glad you're pleased with it. Right then, friends, we're going to do it by position. Scores will be given out of 10. Half marks are allowed, e.g. 6.5. Hutchie's having none of that, so there won't be any half marks from Hutchie, it seems.
Not from me.
And what we'll do is we'll talk about each player, and then I'll ask you for your scores at the end of our little chat. So each of you will talk about each player. And we're going to start, of course, with a man between the sticks, Stuart Watson, who's played 14 games, kept 10 of those 11 clean sheets. Hladky doesn't really qualify because he's only played one game. And I said players must have played 3 games at least to get the average rating and qualify for the list. So I'm going to start with you, Vin Diesel up there, Stuart Watson. Christian Walton, your thoughts on Walton over McKenna's first 15 games?
outstanding. He's very much in the conversation now in terms of the best goalkeeper since. People are debating whether he's overtaken Bartosz Białkowski already. Maybe a little bit premature for that conversation. People forget how good Bart was over a prolonged period of time in a division higher for Ipswich, but there's definitely an argument that his all-round skill set is better than Bart's in terms of the way he commands his box, the way he deals with aerial balls into the box. Bart's highlights reel for saves is outstanding. I quite often see that pop up on social media, and will always give that a watch because it brings a smile to the face. But what an outstanding signing to have got him permanently. Ipswich hopefully have got their goalkeeper to come for many years.
Roscoe Walton, tell me about him.
10 clean sheets, eh? Bloody hell. That was he's had a great way. He's been brilliant since McKenna's come in. He was great under Paul Cook, really, a little shaky moments and stuff. Signed permanently in January, which was, I think, one of the best signings of the window. He's made some really crucial saves, and I think that's one thing for a successful team, having a very good goalkeeper. So I like Wald. I like him a lot.
Hutchie, the washing machine. Your thoughts?
I can't really add much more to those two descriptions. He's a very solid goalkeeper. He's got all of the attributes, and hopefully he'll be here for a very long time. He has had some games where he's not had an awful lot to do, and a lot of credit for that has to go to the players in front of him as well. But you kind of also know that if he did have something to do, he would execute that well. Sometimes he has games where all he has to do, and I say all, where his kind of notable impact is kind of plucking balls out of the air, and something that we know that he's very good at catching crosses, but he's also a very good puncher of the ball. You see a lot of goalkeepers who just flail up. They want to punch it, but they're not very good at punching the ball. He's a good puncher of the football, which sometimes you need to do. So he's been excellent. Hopefully he is for many years.
Superb. Right, as arbiter of the ratings, holder of those scores, Hutchie, I'm going to come to you first on all of these scores. So first of all, out of 10, Christian Walton under Kieran McKenna, scores on the doors, please.
Higher than his actual cumulative match rating. He's 8.
8 out of 10. I think his average rating across those 15 was 6.9. But I guess that's a lot of that's to do with games where he's not got much to do. Watto, out of 10.
I've gone slightly higher. I've gone for a 9. I don't know if he could have done a huge amount more over 15 games to keep 10 clean sheets in the 14 games he's played. And if I can't give him a 9, then I don't know. I've set the bar there with a 9 for Christian Walton.
You've gone high early. I like this. A positive start. 8-9. Roscoe, what's your score?
I'm going actually 10 because why not? 10 clean sheets. I think the goals he did concede weren't really his fault. 10. Why not?
You've gone perfect. They never give a perfect score on the first episode of Strictly Come Dancing, but you've gone early doors there. An 8, a 9, and a 10. Wow, what a start. So Christian Walton doing very well indeed. Right, let's do defenders now, boys. Mr. Consistency, the Denaissance, Janoy Donashian's played 15 games. I think his average rating over those 15 games was above the 7.1. Hutchie, kick us off. Your boy Janoy.
He's not my boy. I don't think he'd want to be my boy. But he's found a role. They found a role for him which has all of the aspects that makes him a good player kind of in one. He's a defender first and foremost. We know that. So a right-sided centre-back, that's a job first and foremost. But he does have the ability to get forward, which we know he can do. It's something he's getting better at as well, but he's not being relied on to do it as maybe a fullback would, certainly a Paul Cook fullback would. So he's found the perfect role for him. He's as calm as you like through games, doesn't get flustered, and he is getting to the byline more and more and more to kind of threaten for his team. So he's one that's really enjoying life under Kieran McKenna.
Like it. Stuart Watson, Janoy Donashian, you've referred to him before as potentially player of the season. Tell me about him.
It's got to be in that conversation, I would say, over the piece. If you're talking from game one all the way through to now, he is Mr. Consistent. I think actually that tag probably does him a bit of a disservice in many ways, because he's been more than that. He's not only been part of this blue wall that you've dubbed that has kept the goals out, but he's been a major part of the attack as well. He's been this marauding wide centre half that's I think has really taken Wes Burns' game to a new level. Let's not underestimate the role that Janoy's had in those two sort of linking up down that side. So another one that we can speak very, very highly of.
I love Janoy Donation. Roscoe, do you love him as much as I do?
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of JD. He's got that bromance with Wes Burns. He's finally found his role in that back three, which is great to see. If he scored against Morecambe, that chance he had, he'll be getting a 10 from me. But I'll get onto my rating in a second. But no, it's been fantastic.
Excellent. I call him your boy, Hutchie, because you're the one who coined the term the Donacents, of course. So that's why he's your boy. What score is he getting from you?
From me, he's getting a 9.
Oh,
he's getting a 9. He would be an 8.5, but half points are a cheat's way out, lads.
Okay, so he gets a 9. Solid, very solid indeed. Roscoe, you've already given 110. Surely not going to hand out another one.
No, he deserves it, to be fair, but I'm going to give him a 9 because that miss at Morecambe. I know he didn't know where it was, but I think 9 is what he deserves. Hopefully a goal will be coming for JD, because he hasn't scored, has he, for Town at all. So hopefully a goal is coming from him at some point.
Absolute scenes. How about The Rock? What do you make of this? Stewie?
I'm sorry, Andy. I'm taking the cheats way out.
Yes.
I just can't separate an 8 or a 9 in my mind. And so I've gone for the 8.5.
Nice. I like early doors. We're seeing how this is going to play out. We've got Ross going really high because he's lovely and happy and optimistic. We've got the more serious analytic journalist going a bit lower. So Ross has given a 9. We've got an 8.5 and we've got a 9 from Hutchie. Next up, and I'm going to start with you, Roscoe. One of the players who's become most resurgent under McKenna, just as Andy Hutchwarren told you he would be. The Wolf, the big bad wolf, Luke Wolfenden, played 15 games. Like Donation, he's averaging 7.1 in terms of our actual ratings over those games. What have you made of Luke?
Thriving. Me and Andy did a video when McKenna came in, which players would thrive, and Andy went Luke Wolfenden, and he was right. He has been calm, assured. What other words we can use? Solid, because we've kept clean sheets. Once again, he's just lacking that goal. If he can score from the corner, if we can score from corners, I think that would be the extra thing to his game. But he's just been a key part in this back line under McKenna, and I just love watching him play. And it's just great to see. I saw Andy did a story this morning. He's going to hit 100 games this weekend, which is, wow, it's crazy, actually. And I think he could have left in January if a new manager didn't come in. So he's been fantastic.
Yeah, Hutchie's done a nice little bit of an analysis on Wolfenden's story at Town. You can go and read that now online this morning. It was a very good read. Hutchie, I was staggered in there actually to read that he's now second in terms of appearance makers that are currently at the club, which I know he's been around a little while, but again, 100 games doesn't seem a lot. What have you made of Luke? You rightly said that he was going to be one of the players who would shine under McKenna. Has he shone more than you expected?
Probably more than I expected, but I expected him maybe to come into the team and kind of benefit that way by playing more football. We've always known what Luke Wolfenden can do. We've known that he's calm on the ball for a centre back. We know that he's more comfortable on the ball than most. We know that he can read the game well, but he's never, by his own admission as well, never put it all together. As consistently as he is now. I think the role in the middle of that back three really, really suits him. And he's reading the game exceptionally well. He's covering for others. He's the one that kind of sweeps up when things are needed. And he's been, he could very easily have gone. Very, very easily could have left in January if this manager change didn't happen. But I think it's to Ipswich's benefit that's happened. We've already seen Downs and Dazelle kind of move on. To have seen Wolfenden leave as well would have been sad, but he's got a manager who trusts him and has improved him as a player, and that's been really good to see.
What have you made of him, Stewie?
The thing that's impressed me the most is he's taken some other parts of his game to a new level, most notably the sort of physicality and aerial duels. He's added that part of his game to what we already knew, as the boys have said, someone who's calm, ice cool, sometimes too ice cool, but we knew he can bring the ball out from the back. We knew he was unflustered, but he looks like he's handling the big physical 1v1 duels that much better now as well. So in some ways, I think he himself described last season as being very average for himself. Maybe that's why he ended up staying. If he had that little bit more stock in the transfer market and people had been after him as they were Downs and Dazelle, then I'm sure Paul Cook would have been maybe tempted to cash in there as well. So perhaps it was a blessing in disguise that he's had this little quiet period in his Ipswich Town career, because ultimately it's meant he's stayed, and Ipswich have got a hell of an asset on their hands.
Hutchie, arbiter of the ratings. What are we giving the Wolf?
9.
9. Stewie?
9.
Roscoe?
I'm going to give him an 8 because of his hair. For changing his hair.
That is harsh.
I'm sorry, Wolfie. I just slim shading and all that.
You're not a fan.
Not a fan.
Not a fan.
Good player.
Hutchie, do you ever take haircuts into account when you're giving the ratings?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, it goes in. Yeah, it does, because it goes into the mix. It's not going to give you an extra point or not, but it might make me watch you a little bit more. There's 11 players out there on the pitch. Can't watch them all at all times. If you turn up with looking like Slim Shady, or having watched the club's coffee club video yesterday, George Edmondson was calling him Philip Schofield with his latest. It might make him stand out to me a little bit more. So if you do want some extra points, if any of you are listening, Ipswich Town players, then
has Philip Schofield ever been bleached blonde? Was that
he's got grey hair, isn't
Silver Fox, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's football banter for you.
I guess it could go either way, though, couldn't it, actually? So if they're standing out more because of their barnet and they have a stinker, you're going to notice them more. Goes
Possibly.
Both ways, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a risk. It's a risk.
It's a risk.
It's like wearing bright boots or gloves or Under Armour. You better be a good player if you're going to draw that attention to yourself. If you're going to get some sort of wacky haircut, then play well.
Like the day that
Luke has.
The day Dominic Thompson turns up with blue in his hair rather than red, that's going to be a big day for him if that ever does actually happen. If I was him, that would have happened already. I'll be honest. Probably would have gone all in a bit earlier. You're at Ipswich now. We'll get on to him in a minute.
Yeah, I'd like you to do that though, Hutchie.
What, dye my hair?
Yeah, blue hair. Why not?
Yep.
Right then, moving on swiftly. Big George. Sadly, we know he might be out for the season. Big George Emerson has been a rock at the back. I think average-wise, he averaged at about 6.6 over the 15. He had a couple of fours in there, Hutchie, which dragged his score down. But clearly, he's been really important. 14 games he's played under McKenna. Just missing that last one, of course. First one through injury. Tell us about Big George, Hutchie.
Yeah, we know he's a really important player to Ipswich, but I would argue he played better football under Paul Cook. That's not to say that he's not been important to this team. Of course he has. He's a good defender. He's a consistent performer, and that those fours you've mentioned are the reason why the ratings on the kind of the average scale, why they will come out lower than all of these now, because it's kind of, you get dragged down by a bad game for the entire team, and probably the goal that he gifted at Bolton is going to have been one of those off the top of my head. That wasn't a great moment for him, but he responded to that well. But probably not for me hitting the same heights that he'd hit under Paul Cook. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. He's still a consistent performer, but maybe not being relied upon quite as much.
Okay, fair enough. Stewie, your take on Big George?
Echo those thoughts. He's been good, but not. We can't talk about him in the same way we were going back a few months' time, where we was talking about well, he's a 9 every game. George Edmondson has just been outstanding. He's not hit those same heights, so I don't want to do him down too much, but he's just dropped below that a little bit in the last few weeks. I think the score will reflect sort of that. I don't think he's not been the top performing member of that back three, I would say.
Okay, Rossi, agree?
Yeah, echo what the boys just said. Of course, he had a black eye for a few games as well. Of course, he was showing that black eye. So he's a hard boy. I'm sure you're like that, Heath. He's a hard nut to crack. But yeah, he's going to be a big miss, of course, because with his injury.
If I was doing the ratings, he'd automatically get an extra point for having a black eye. Fantastic.
He had 2 at one point.
Two
Both.
black eyes. Just give him a 10, no matter how he plays. Double hard. Hutchie, you're the man who actually does give the ratings, and I assume not influenced by such things as facial damage. But what are you giving George?
George is getting an 8.
Solid 8. The muscles from Braintree. Stuart Watson, what are you saying?
Oh, this is going to carry on to the end of the show, isn't it? 7.5.
7.5. 8, 7.5. Roscoe?
I was going to give him a 7, but because I remember the black eye, he's getting 8 just for that extra. So hair gets downgraded if you've got bad hair, and if you look hard, you get 1 more.
Excellent. That's the ratings that I like. So 2 8s and a 7.5. Right then, Dominic Thompson is next. I know technically he's playing a bit further forward, but he is definitely by trade a defender. He's played 10 games, obviously at left wing back. Average wise, I think he came out pretty poorly, about 6.1 over those games. Roscoe, you kick us off with Dominic Thompson. What have you made of him since he's come over on loan?
He's been all right. He showed flashes of quality. What he played in the Premier League, didn't he, for Brentford a few games. He's just been all right. There's nothing for me. There's nothing else for me to add. I don't mind him as a player, but he doesn't excite. I think I like his passion after games. He's always clapping the fans and stuff. I think if he changes his colour blue, I think then he'll be that more passion will come through. But he's been all right. Throw-ins, yeah. Does the job in that position, but there's nothing else. Man, go to Stu, Andy. They'll add more.
Excellent. Let's go to Stu then. Dominic Thompson, what have you made of him, Stu?
He's been all right. Yeah, I wasn't sold on him straight away. He didn't hit the ground running. Maybe that was understandable given his kind of lack of senior game time this season. But I think he's improved as time's gone on. I don't think it's helped that he's got those natural comparisons to not being the dynamic Wes Burns presence on the opposite side of the pitch. He's more of a left back playing at left wing back than a winger playing there. But he's grown on me as time's gone on. He's been pretty consistent. He's certainly technically very good. There's been times when Selena's played that those two look like they've had a bit of an understanding. So, yeah, he's not set the world alight. I think there's more to come from him, but he's been a solid enough addition.
What have you made of him then, Hutchie? As I say, the average score came out at 6.1 over the 10 games he's played so far. That about right for you?
Yeah, right ballpark. I think that probably represents a slower start, and maybe played catch up a bit on his numbers in that period. He's a left back playing at the left wing back. Wes Burns is a right winger playing at right wing back. I don't think the comparisons are particularly fair on him. But I would say he's certainly played his part in the recent clean sheet run. But he took responsibility for the goal they conceded at Morecambe, which would have added, if that hadn't gone in, that would have added another clean sheet and another 3 points to their total. So yeah, I quite like him as a player, but I think he's always going to lose out when you compare him to what's going on down the other side of the pitch, where you've got Donasian and Burns, a well-oiled machine. There's not a well-oiled machine down the left. Edmondson's kind of on his wrong foot, which at times doesn't hugely help that partnership. And Thompson's a more naturally defensive player. So I think that's probably where he's losing out rather than his own actual ability.
Okay. What are you giving him? Scores on the doors time?
Grudging 6.
6 from Hutchie. Roscoe?
I think I'm going to follow suit because he's been all right. 6.
All right gets you a 6. Watto?
I'll stick an extra 0.5 on there, 6.5.
6.5. Hutchie's loving that. Right then, that's the regular starters done. There's two more players to discuss. And let's do them both together just for time reasons. Backups now. Matt Penny and KVY, Kane Vincent-Young. Penny's played 3 games under McKenna, average about 6.3. KVY's played 4, average 5.8. Stewie, what do you make of these two?
Haven't really played a huge amount, so there's not loads to be said about either of them really. I think Penny's last start was at Bolton. I wasn't at that game, but Andy tells me and everything I've watched and read that he had a bit of a stinker in that match and hasn't appeared since. Kane Vincent-Young, just Accrington and Wimbledon. I've got him down for starts there. I can't really remember loads about him. Yeah, late on in one of those games. So there's a reason neither of them. There's a reason Ipswich went out and signed a left back in January. Kane still might have a role to play if touchwood. Hopefully this doesn't happen. But Wes Burns finally gets a knock that keeps him out for a game or two or more. But not loads to say on these two, to be honest.
Hutchie, is there a route back for either of these two? More so, I'm probably thinking of KVY, because not too long ago, KVY was one of the kind of crown jewels, the guy who was going to surge forward and almost single-handedly lift Town into the Championship when he was back from his injury, and clearly still not quite the player he was. What have you made of these two?
To answer your first question, the route back seems quite tough to me, particularly for Matt Penny. So we will see. But I would say that I think they're both better players than they've shown under McKenna, not just in terms of the games that they've played, but the number of games that they've played, but also their performances within those games. Without going, we know about Vincent-Young, of course we do. Without going overboard on Matt Penny, he's had some absolute stinkers in an Ipswich at Plymouth in particular, and then Bolton, as Stu said. But he's also the closest thing to a proper wing back that they've got for that left side, I would say. But again, as Stu said, there's a reason they recruited Thompson. So under McKenna, they've not really shown an awful lot.
Rossi, have you got anything to add?
Yeah, I completely forgot about Vincent-Young's red card against Wimbledon. I think because that was a great night all round, and I think that just happened like last minute, did it? And whatever. We're 10 men down, but we won the game 2-0. Happy days. But I forgot we had Penny as well. He's had a few stinkers, so he's going to get a bad rating from me.
Fair enough. Right then, 2 scores required then, Hutchie, for these two. You can give them the same score. You can give them different scores. What are we going to go for?
A pair of 5s.
A pair of 5s making a 10. So a Matt Penny and a KVY equal a single Christian Walton under Rossi's scoring so far. Watto, what are you saying?
Don't think I can disagree with that.
Excellent. So 5s all round so far. Rossi?
I just can't remember Matt Penny doing much, so he's going to get a 3.
Oh.
And Vincent-Young, well, he should get a 3 as well because he got sent off in a game, but I let him off because he's, KVY, all that, certified baller. He's getting a 4.
Certified baller gets a 4. Excellent. 3 and a 4 and a bunch of 5s as well. Right then, Hutchie, I'm going to start with you here because it's Sam Morsey. He was your main man in the rating, 7.5 over his 11 games that he's been available for. Wax lyrical and heap platitudes on super skipper Sam.
I honestly can't imagine there's been a better midfielder in the division over the 2.5 months that we're talking about here. He's changed the way that he's being used now, and the way that he's performed has kind of changed the game for Ipswich in terms of what they're able to do. We saw that the weekend. Where once he'd gone off, they lacked midfield thrust and an ability just to move the ball forward through the middle of the pitch from the middle of midfield. He's been outstanding under Kieran McKenna, and he's been the player that I thought Paul Cook had signed. I think there were times under Cook where I'm sure that there was more expected of him during that time, and I think Cook will probably be disappointed that he wasn't the man to kind of unlock this from a player he knew so well. But in 2022, he's been outstanding.
Absolutely. Rossi, tell me about Morsey.
What a player. Of course he gets injured. Of course he does. Ipswich Town. The curse always happens. I think everybody definitely, Hutchie was so pleased that he finally got his first goal for the club. I'm sure he can hopefully score many more to come. But he's just been fantastic at midfield, and it's great to see. He's getting a 10 because he's just getting a 10. I'm jumping in the ratings already.
I'm not even asked your score yet, Rossi. You've got excited. You've gone early.
You've got excited, but no, he's been fantastic, and fingers crossed he's going to be all right in terms of injuries and stuff.
People talk about obviously opening his account. Let's not overlook that tremendous assist he had the other week to Caden Jackson. That was real vision. Stewie, is there a certain irony to the fact that Paul Cook told us that Sam Morsey was going to be a one-man wrecking crew? Didn't quite happen under Cook, but since McKenna's come in, he's been superb. He's played better under McKenna than he did under his old mate Paul Cook.
Yeah, probably varying reasons for that. I think judging from the outside looking in, it maybe took Sam a little while to get his head around the fact that he'd made that move so late in the summer window. I don't think it was, well, we know it's not one that he was expecting or indeed wanted to make going into the 31st of August. So maybe he had to get his own head around that. Then he was part of a team that was completely brand new and all bedding in around him, and trying to suddenly be the captain of a completely new group, I guess, has its difficulties. So there was that element to it. And secondly, we now know, wasn't really being used the correct way, in that as one of two sort of sitters in that midfield, where they had to sit because Paul Cook wants his fullbacks to bomb on, and you need those two holders to kind of cover the gap. So that really put the shackles on him. But Kieran McKenna has unlocked something completely different in him. He's now suddenly this forward thrust in midfield, getting into the box late, sort of John Walk-esque. Scored one goal, could have had more. He's just been a real leader, and he's put the team on his back at times, and it's just infectious energy has kind of spread throughout the team. And the biggest compliment I can give him is do I think Ipswich are going to make the playoffs now? No. Why? Because Sam Morsey's out. I think that's the main factor that prevents me from thinking this can happen now.
I'd just like to say welcome back, Watto, asking himself questions and answering them. That's two there, listeners, for the price
You're
of
welcome.
one, back to back. Right then, we know Roscoe is given a 10. Hutchie, I'm seeing you very much as our Craig Revel Horwood on this particular panel. You're going low, but if anyone's going to get a 10, it's like the final of Strictly Come Dancing, where they just give everyone 10s, and Craig finally gives a 10. Is Morsey getting a 10?
No, he's not getting a 10. He should have 5. He should have 5 goals.
Yes,
at this point. He's getting a 9. He needs to score. He needs to score goals. That would truly take him to beyond the stratosphere.
Absolutely love that. Very much like Craig Revel Horwood, when someone's just smashed out a dance routine and he goes, "Didn't like the shape of your hand." 9.
Well, that's very apt that you should mention that with Sam Morsey, given, I don't know, people have probably noticed his very sort of strange splayed fingers running style when he runs. Look out for that if you haven't noticed it before.
I have not noticed that. I'm gonna notice that and see nothing else. I'm going forward. Jazz hands. So we've got a 10 and a 9. Stewie, what are you saying?
9 as well.
Ooh, high scoring here. Right then.
Can I add something? Of course, he did miss 4 games because he got suspended, of course, during that period. So was it 4 games?
Yeah, 4 games.
Yeah. He missed a chance of scoring goals in those 4 games. So,
okay, right, fair enough.
He still should have 5 by this.
yeah.
Right then, a 10 and 2 9s for Captain Fantastic Morsey. Another talisman, swashbuckling down the right hand side. Wes Burns, baby Burns. Roscoe, kick us off with Wes Burns.
Oh, sipping a bit of water there. He's been all right again. He's had a few. I think it's been a few games where I've been a bit underwhelmed by him a little bit, but he has been once again another key part of this team. He's been scoring goals. He's in double figures now, and is he 11 goals?
11 goals, yeah.
11 goals. 7 goals under McKenna, which has been fantastic. He's creating stuff, rampaging up and down, cuts in. He's taken a few knocks as of late, but I think he's a key player in his team, and of course fans love him. Fans love him. All the players love him. He's got his hair. Happy days.
Watto, a man who is diametrically opposite to you, hair wise. I don't know about pace wise. I reckon you've probably got a bit of turn of pace.
Come on. I'm devastatingly bald. I'll give you that one. But I'm not going to get involved in any kind of foot race with Wes Burns or any professional footballer for that matter.
I want to see it. I once had someone, I remember now, one of the KOA Army a couple of years ago, back when Chambers was here, was desperately messaging us to see if we could genuinely set up a foot race between him and Luke Chambers, because he thought he'd take Chambers out, no problem. Never happened, but there you go. I'm digressing. Burns, 7 goals in those 15 games under McKenna. Average rating, I think, came out at 6.7. Tell me more about him, Stewie.
Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it? As Ross has kind of alluded to, despite the fact that his 7 goals under McKenna as a right wing back is a ridiculous return. But yet there have been games where his end product hasn't quite been there. I think it's improved in the last few games. I think McKenna has clearly worked on him changing the style of his final delivery. By his own admittance, earlier in the season, his plan was get to the byline and hit it as hard as I can into the box and hope that Macaulay Bonne is there. And that happened quite a lot. He was beginning to sort of thrash at a few of these crosses, and a few were flying over the bar and behind the goal. And last few games, clearly they've worked on just players composing themselves when they get to the byline and working on these cutbacks. A lot of the goals have been coming from measured cutbacks, and Burns has improved that, but he doesn't look like he's at full steam to me at the moment. I don't know whether it's just a long season and a few knocks catching up on him, but he's not been quite at his devastating best. But those goals, you can't look beyond those, can you?
Owner of the best thigh tattoo in the town squad, Hutchie, which I know is important to you. What have you made of Wes Burns?
I've currently got a thigh tattoo.
Have you?
Yeah, I have. My daughter put one on me yesterday, a Disney one. It's got Anna and Kristoff, Sven, Elsa, Prince Hans from Frozen all on there. So
she's already got a tattoo gun. That's bold.
Yeah. We just let her loose with that. Wes Burns, I think I'm going to take the cheats way out and say that Stu summed up Wes Burns perfectly there. He's not quite the flying winger that's squaring up to people and simply beating them for pace and hustle that he has been this season. Some things have taken its toll there, maybe, but you can't look beyond the goals. That's like 1 in 2 from wing back is a bit silly, really. So
Burns by name, Burns by nature. Give us a score.
8.
A solid 8.
The goals have saved him.
Craig Revel Warren over there. Watto?
8.5.
Yeah, there we go. He squeezes out the extra half mark.
Let's just do it out of 20. If you're gonna do that, let's just do it. You've given him 17.
8.5. Rossi, what are you saying?
I'm giving him a 7 for his shirt number and his 7 goals.
Okay, fair enough. 7. So Rossi started to skew towards the lower end of the scale now. Right then, boys. Lee Evans, someone we've not seen for a while. He's been injured. Normally would be a shoe-in to start in midfield alongside Sam Morsey. He's played 6 games under McKenna. Average score of 7. Average rating of 7 per game. Hutchie, Lee Evans.
I think that's a quite nice way of summing up Lee Evans. 7 on a rating is a very good, solid performance. That's a very solid contribution to your team if you get a 7. And I think Lee Evans, more often than not, will give you that. There's the occasional 8 in there. There's the occasional 6 on the days where Town don't quite tick. But all in all, he'll give you a solid performance, which facilitates others to go and do their thing. Notably, Sam Morsey under Kieran McKenna, and also he plays quite an important role in getting the wide players into the game. So, yeah, a solid contributor that they've absolutely missed.
Watto, earlier in the season, Evans was much maligned. He was becoming a bit of a scapegoat for Town fans. I know our old friend David Flisher from the KOA Fan Social, who hates everyone and everything, particularly doesn't like Lee Evans. Watto, what do you make of Lee Evans? Is it odd, you think, that there was that kind of feeling about Evans to begin with, and has that changed, you would say, now?
Yeah, I think the narrative around him has slowly changed. I think we talk about sort of vibes going into these ratings. I think sometimes players become better when they're out the team, or you only notice what they bring when they're out the team, and that's definitely been the case with Lee Evans. There was a lot of noise around Sam Morsey's absence during that 4-game suspension, but I think that Ipswich in different ways have missed Lee Evans just as much during his injuries. So yeah, it's just not the most sexy position in the world, is it? You know, we had that conversation with Cole Scoos on and off for many years, that sort of sitting and sort of dictating play and taking the ball off the back three and just knitting everything together doesn't always catch the eye, but you need someone to do it. And I think Lee Evans was doing it really well, and also added a bit of much needed physicality to this side. He wins a lot of headers in midfield, and it's a fairly undersized team, and I think they miss Lee Evans in that respect when he's not in there as well. So I really like Lee Evans, and I think they've missed him a lot.
Detective Sergeant Cole Scoos, you mean, obviously, under the upcoming Andrew Warren book. I mean, not everyone can be sexy boys, can they? I mean, look at the four of us, for example. You need those people just doing solid work. Maybe not looking the best, faces for radio, but doing that work that gets the team to the top. Rossi, Lee Evans.
I like him. I like him a lot. Just solid in that midfield. And once again, it's just our luck, you know, that Sam Morsey and Lee Evans, that duo was back working well, and then Lee Evans gets injured, or Sam Morsey gets suspended, and now they're both injured. And now we've got Tyrek Backerson and Tom Carroll. Tom Carroll is not David Fisher's favourite player at all either. That's for another show. But yeah, he's just been solid. It's just been a shame of his injuries. Hopefully when he comes back, he will be a big player. We just need him back ASAP, because I think that's what we're lacking in that midfield, is a bit of muscle.
Yeah, he is a bit of a unit, isn't he, Evans? Hutchie, you're our own unit with your calves and your eyelashes. Give us a score for Evans.
Eyelashes unit, are they?
That's the topping on top of the cake.
Okay. 7
for Lee Evans. Very solid, very, very good indeed. Watto, you going 7?
8.
8 for Evans. Rossi?
7.
7. 2 7s and 8. Right then, we've got 9 players left. This is going to be a bit of an epic podcast today, friends. It looks like we're already on 45 minutes. So settle in. If you need a wee, maybe pause us now, because we've got quite a lot still to discuss. Going to continue with this, though, because it's good quality content. Right then, let's do the next 2 players together, because they're kind of the backup midfield options. Tyrek Backerson and Tom Carroll, generally competing to start alongside either Morsey or Evans when one or both are out or unavailable. Stewie, tell us about Tyrek and Tom Carroll.
Completely different to Morsey and Evans in terms of the dynamic that they bring. Backerson, I've kind of summed up by saying he can make the difficult look easy, and he can make the easy look difficult. He frustrates me. You can see that there's a lot of potential and ability there, but there's some serious raw edges to round off at the moment. So that's my summary of him. Carroll, neat and tidy player. You can see reasons why he's played in the Premier League a significant number of games. The injuries have kind of led him to this point. I'd be interested to see if he can get a run of games, what he can bring to the table. I thought he did really well, actually, once he got up to the speed of the game last weekend.
Rossi, what are your thoughts on this pair?
Well, if we didn't sign Bakkerson in January, we wouldn't have really another midfielder. So maybe that was a smart move. Maybe they were preparing for some injuries in that midfield. Pretty much echo what Stu said, really. I think he looks good at times, but then he also has moments where what are you doing? Why are you tackling there? Or that's a bad pass. Tom Carroll is once again, he's proven that he has played in the Premier League before, but there's times also sideways, a bit crab-like, as Dale Fisher would say. But yeah, just they've been all right once again.
Okay, just to dot the I's and cross the T's before we come to you, Hutchie, for your thoughts and the scores. Tariq Backinson played 9 games qualifying under McKenna, average score of 6.4. Carroll's played 6, average score of 5.8. On you go.
I think they're both better when they play with Sam Morsey. And the fact that Ipswich have had to use them as a pairing I don't think they're a natural pair. I think they're maybe both, and this isn't necessarily a criticism. They're both maybe a bit too passive in terms of the way they play in midfield. They haven't got the same. There's no mid, but when they're together, there's not quite the thrust out of midfield that Morsey's able to give. So I think they've both kind of been hindered by the fact they've had to play together. As harsh as that sounds, but when they've been playing with one of the more established midfielders, I think you're able to see their qualities a bit more. Backinson's growing on me actually as the games go by. There is the odd rocket ball in there that's just kind of, you do scratch your head, and he isn't quite the physical presence that we've talked about Lee Evans being. Carroll did have a very good game, I thought, second half in particular on Saturday, but he would be so much better alongside someone like Morsey. So I think they both have something. Backinson in particular is growing on me, but the fact they're kind of had to be used as a duo hasn't been great for the team. Would be my assessment of them.
Kick us off with some scores then.
Pair of sixes.
Can't say fairer than that. Watto?
Same.
2 6s. Rossi?
Samesies.
6s all round for Tariq Backinson and Tom Carroll. Right then, boys, let's move on to the kind of forwards, the ones operating just behind or alongside the strikers. 3 of them here, Sonny Aluko, Connor Chaplin, Bertrand Salini, before we get onto the strikers. Let's start with a man who's played the most games out of that group, which is Connor Chaplin, 13 games under McKenna. Surprisingly low average of 6.3. When you look at the scores that he's been given, Hutchie, most of the time he's been getting 6s. What can we say about Connor Chaplin?
Yeah, I like Connor Chaplin as a player, but there are games where I come away from it thinking that I love the effort. What you get with Chaplin is pure effort. He's a pest. He pops up in funny areas on the pitch in a good way. He's a good character. He can threaten the goal as well. But a fair few of those appearances. How many appearances did you say that he had? 13. Yeah, a few of those are going to have come from the bench, which is where maybe his average has come down a little bit. But I kind of feel like he's not quite at the kind of level he has been for them at other points during the season. He obviously scored an important winner against Gillingham, which was a big goal and the kind of goal that we know he can score. So he's certainly contributed, but maybe not quite to the level that he has previously in the season. And I guess maybe some of that's down to being in and out of the team every week.
Would you agree with that, Stewie?
Yeah, I was just having a look while Andy was talking. I think his longest run in the team has been 4 successive starts. Mentioned the winner against Gillingham. He got the winner against Accrington as well. So you always feel like he brings a goal threat to the team, that there'll be a moment where he's alive in the box and can finish. He's always busy. He's always got that infectious energy about him. Sometimes it's not always directed in the correct manner. It doesn't feel like it's as joined up with the rest of the team, that he's someone who's just sort of here, there and everywhere if you look at his heat map. So, yeah, he's been good, but it still hasn't quite found his role, his place within this team, I would suggest, just yet.
Okay, Rossi, what do you make of Connor Chaplin?
I like him as a player. He can come up with some goals as well. Some of the goals he's scored has been fantastic. But yeah, he's not really had that chance of running the team. He needs to improve on his set pieces. We're not very well at corners. Is just horrendous. And I'm very close to where most of the time when he takes corners, I'm just watching and I'm like, this is probably not even going to beat the first man. So I think we need to improve on that. But overall, he is just a solid player, and he is here, there, and everywhere, as the boys have said. I look up and he's there, and it's like, oh, he was over there just a minute ago. But no, if he could get a run in the team, he can show the quality. Once again, I just can't believe we've signed players like Connor Chaplin for League One. He was in a playoff place team last season with Barnsley. So yeah, if he get that run in the team, I think he's going to be a key player again.
Just start telling him, Rossi, before he takes corners. Make sure this is a good one. I scored 25 goals when I was 14, Connor. I know how to play football. Just get it in. Just get it in the air. Do a good corner. Hutchie, Connor Chaplin, 6.3 was his average. What are you saying?
7.
Mr. Universe, Watto?
7.
Yes, 7. Rossi, full house?
I want to give him a 7, but
give him a 7 then.
I gave Wes Burns a 7, and Wes Burns has scored 7 goals. Connor Chaplin scored 3 goals under McKenna.
Half mark?
I don't want to do half mark. I think that's Stu's ball game. I think that's what I'll let him do that. I don't like to get told off by Hutchie. Why not? Give him a 7. Why not?
7.
There we go.
I like the way that Stu, only Stu is allowed to give half marks. Superb. Right then. 7's all round. Next up, the mystery man, the enigma, the man that can turn the game, but also can be fairly anonymous. Bersant Salina. 12 games he's played. I think his average score was somewhere in the region of 6.7, something like that. Stewie, Bersant Salina.
He's got better in the last few games. He's another one who's never had that sort of run. It's been him and Chaplin tend to have kind of come in as a pair to play as those dual number 10s, and then they will both drop out the team and both come back into the team. So again, he's been a little bit sort of held back by that. The thought that when Ipswich signed Bersant Salina, we all couldn't believe that they'd got him in League One. And if you'd have said, well, he'll be a rotation player come the back end of the season, you wouldn't have believed that. I'm sure he's, like Chaplin, got some frustrations behind the scenes. Has he completely grasped his chances with both hands? Questioning myself again, probably not. But he's someone that got that X factor. He's someone that while he's on the pitch, you feel he can have that moment of magic, and he's had a hand in. He was really lively when he stepped off the bench against Morecambe. Looked like the player most likely for Ipswich to get the winner there. And then he's had a hand in 2 goals at Fleetwood when he got moved further forward. And then he's had a hand in 2 goals in the following game, which you'll have to remind me what it was, what came after Fleetwood. It was a home Lincoln game, wasn't it? The home 2-0 win. So we maybe underestimate because he's not got that sort of busyness of Connor Chaplin, and he doesn't maybe necessarily contribute defensively as much. We maybe underestimate just how much of a contribution he does have in unlocking that door sometimes.
Can we start using that as a backhanded compliment, boys? Obviously, players have to grab their opportunity with both hands. Can you start referring to players only grabbing their opportunity with one hand when they've already not done it? Rossi, Bersant Salina.
He's another player that needs to improve on his set pieces, because he also does set pieces if Connor Chaplin's not on the pitch, and there's been some debatable crosses and free kicks, but when I watch him, I do go, wow, some of the stuff he does, some of the step overs and stuff, but it's weird to think he is a bit of a bit part player at the moment. Coming off the bench, he does start as well. I did like him in that centre mid role. I didn't mind that. What game was that again? I forgot now.
It's Fleetwood.
Started there at Fleetwood.
Started Fleetwood, and of course he then moved on, and was part of those 2 goals. But he's done what he's had to do. I think he needs a few more goals maybe, because he scored Burton, didn't he? A little tap-in against Burton in the 3-0 win. But I'm hoping we're going to get some more from him for the rest of the season.
The X factor that's Bersant Salina, Hutchie. Give us your thoughts and then a score.
He's trending in the right direction. I'd quite like them to sign him full time, But for his work under McKenna, I'm just going to give him a 7 for now, but it's trending upwards.
Do you think you mentioned you'd like him to sign him? Is that something that is realistic?
I think it would need some work, but I don't think it's unrealistic.
Okay. 7 for Selena. Rossi?
6.
Ooh, 6 from Rossi. Stewie?
7.
7. 2 7s and a 6 for Bursant Selena. Right then. The player who was the worst summer signing, according to yours truly, wasn't going to do anything. Sonny Aluko. Hutchie, was that just an audible yawn there?
Potentially. I've just coughed.
Okay.
It's led to a yawn.
Okay, fair enough. It's not my hosting that's sending you to sleep. Sonny Aluko, he's certainly not been sending you to sleep, has he? What a segue.
No. No, I think we all quite like watching Sonny play, don't we? You can see his quality on the ball. He keeps it really nicely. He uses it well. He's intelligent. He's clearly a very good influence around the club. And he is another member of this kind of attacking 3 that now goes into 2 to playing games who contributes. He's been in and out of the team as well, but has delivered when he's come into it. So, very solid performer.
8 games, 6.8 average, couple of 9 out of 10s in there. Stewie, what have you made of Sonny?
Yeah, he's silky smooth to watch, isn't he? Maybe we kind of fall into a bit of recency bias when we're kind of waxing lyrical about him because that game against Lincoln is so fresh in the memory, but he hasn't actually played that much under McKenna. He kind of started the first where it was that unchanged team for the first 3 games, wasn't it? And it was him in behind the Bash brothers, but he's not played that much. I'm just having a look at his stats. He started against Burton, Morecambe, and Lincoln, and then you're going back to Wimbledon before that. So when he's played, he's been good to watch. He hasn't played it a huge amount, but he's certainly he's playing a very, very solid role within this squad for sure.
Rossi, Stewie said that Sonny can dribble his way out of a telephone box, which I very much enjoy. Have you been impressed with him?
Yeah, age is just a number, as I say.
Not for you, mate. Not for you. Under the Ross Hall's method, he'd be out the door 3 years ago.
That's what I'm saying. I'm changing my mind now because of Sonny Aluko. But yeah, I echo what Stu said. He hasn't actually played that much under McKenna, really. He's had a few, substitute appearances. He's been replaced early as well. But the Lincoln game sort of showed up a lot of people of saying, yeah, Sonny's still got it. So a new deal possibly for him.
Yeah, certainly. Hutchie, give us a score.
7.
Rossi?
Looking back at all my ratings, I've had a mare, really. I want to move Wes Burns to 8 now, but I don't think that's allowed.
Can't do it retrospectively, I'm afraid.
Yeah, okay. Sonny, I'm going to give him a 7.
7. You're kind of doing the old imperceptible, kind of going with it, aren't you? Going with the flow. I just remind you to give a 10 to Christian Walton at the start, and it's been all over the place since then. Stewie, what's the score you're giving Sonny?
Same as Chaplin, same as Selena, a 7.
7. Solid 7.
Part of an attack, but obviously hasn't been scoring loads of goals. They've been okay, but there's room for improvement.
Perfect segue then onto the strikers. 4 strikers left to consider and rate, boys. Let's start with the man who's played the most games, but hasn't scored, or has scored once in 22 games now. Macaulay Bonne, 10 games. I think he's averaged out at 5.8. I'm going to come to you, Rossi, because he's your boy. Macaulay Bonne.
Oh, poor Macca. Poor Macca. 1 goal. The last one was against Gillingham, and it's not been at it, has he? Unfortunately, I do feel sorry for him. I think there's been times where he just hasn't been at it. He works hard, then he works hard. He did it right on Saturday. He worked his butt off, but it just hasn't been the same, since that unbelievable start. We spoke about it a few weeks ago, didn't we? It's just been disappointing for him. I hope there's a goal coming. If that goal should have counted on Saturday, that should have hopefully been a chance for him to go on a run of scoring. But it's just not worked out for him the last 2 months. And I don't know where the next goal will be coming for him. That's the sad thing about it.
Stewie, we know it certainly looks like Caden Jackson's going to be out for a little while now. So, is Macaulay Bonne the obvious person to turn to in that scenario? What have you made of Macaulay under McKenna?
The fact that that's even up for debate probably tells you kind of how Macaulay's season has unravelled since that remarkable start. I don't know how much time we're going to have to talk about Oxford, but with Caden Jackson out, I really don't know who McKenna will turn to, whether it's Bonne, whether it's Norwood, whether it's Pigott now. I don't really know what else to say about him. He's struggled a little bit of late. Macaulay's not lacked for passion, never does with him, but it's just strikers are judged on goals, and they've just not been happening for him. And getting that one ruled out at the end on Saturday kind of summed up his recent frustrations.
Hutchie, a man who boasts a similar physique to Macaulay Bonne. I'll try to cheer you up, mate. Macaulay Bonne, what are we saying about him? Give us a score.
Oh, I don't need cheering up, and Macaulay Bonne doesn't need to have his physique compared to mine. I tell you that.
Kick a man while he's down.
The man's in great shape. I am not. He's. I thought he did well when he came off the bench on Saturday. Obviously, the goal should have stood at the end. I liked what I saw from him in terms of there's a bit more zip about him, and I probably would be turning to him now. Now if Caden's out for a time, but it's been no getting away from it. It's been a tough time. Those two misses at Morecambe were chances he should have gobbled up, and he would have done in September, October. So it's been a tough time for him. But I think he's a player that has got so much goodwill kind of going towards him. Everybody connected with Ipswich wants to see him doing the business because it means so much to him. So yeah, it's been tough watching him. Actually, it's not been enjoyable at all.
Give us a score then.
5.
So if he's Macaulay Bonne, under your estimation, you would be Macaulay Bonne. Is that right?
Cream bun, yeah.
Macaulay cream bun. 5 from Hutchie. Rossi, what are you going to give your boy? You can't give him a 10.
Yeah, sorry, Macca. I think he'd understand. I think anybody will understand. Only one goal in the last 20 odd games. Not great. I'm going to round it up to just 5 as well.
Okay, 5. 2 5s. Watto, anything different there?
No, 5 from me as well. He did score against Gillingham in the early days and played his part in the McKenna reign, getting off to a good start. Played in those few games. That probably rescues him a 5 there.
Caden Jackson next then, boys. Another one of these resurgent players under McKenna. He's played 9 games. He's got a whole point average higher rating than Macaulay Bonne, 6.8 over those games. Hutchie, you're nodding away. Caden Jackson.
Yeah, this was a difficult one. I found this a difficult one to rate in a few ways, but it's been a resurgence, hasn't it? It's we had a front cover of our pre-match supplement in the newspaper ahead of last weekend's game, which was half Caden Jackson, half zombie, which is kind of back from the dead vibe. But do you ever come back from genuinely? Can you come back from being a zombie? Does that ever happen in films? Is it like if you are a zombie, is there a scenario where you go back? Because I was questioning that whether
you get the zombies breaking out from the graveyard, don't you? You see the fist sort of break out through the mud.
But they never turn back though, do they? You never go from zombie back to human.
That's a good point.
Maybe there's I thought they'd made all of the films by this point because you're getting like 3 trilogies and 4 sequels to them. Maybe there's a film for us to make there of the first zombie back to human thriller.
I like it, and we've got the perfect man to star in the leading role, Caden Jackson.
Leading role, Caden Jackson to take the leading role. But yeah, it's been good to see someone get a spring, like a real spring in their step, particularly in that area of the pitch. And I think you could visibly see the kind of the boost that Kieran McKenna has given Caden Jackson when you watch him play at the moment. Obviously, there's some goals in there. The Burton performance was outstanding, he's been. if Bond's kind of been tough to watch because we've all wanted him to do it so much. Like Jackson's been an absolute pleasure to watch. Just to watch someone enjoying themselves after a tough time is a good pleasure to have, isn't it?
A simple pleasure, a good pleasure. I do worry that we've jinxed Caden with the zombie front cover because obviously he's going to get injured now. Rossi, Caden Jackson, been good, isn't he?
He's been good. Like many other players, you've just thought his career at Town was dead. But we've already done that pun, so I'll move on from that. But no, it's been great to see a smile on his face, scoring a few goals. He loves doing the jump in air celebration. And it's just great. But now, of course, he just joins the list of the cursed players after having a good little bit of form, gets injured. So, no, it's been great. And hopefully it's not too bad, but it does look bad, the injury.
Yeah, hamstring's not good, especially for a player like Caden Jackson, who's all about pace. Stewie?
Yeah, not much more to add than what the boys have said, really. He's from the MK Dons performance. It looked like they were using him properly. They had a game plan for him, and with the backing of a manager that believed in him, he has taken it with not just one hand, Mark. He's taken it with both hands. And it was a real shame to see him limp off at the weekend. He's been good.
Right then, Hutchie, give us a score for Caden.
All things considered, where he's come from to this point, I'm going to give him an 8.
8. Watto?
I've also got 8 written down.
Rossi?
That is 3 8s.
3 8s. Fantastic. Right, then let's do the final 2 players together. 2 strikers, James Norwood and Joe Pigott. Norwood obviously had that tremendous December. He was the original resurgent player. Came back, won Player of the Month. He's played 9 games under Kieran McKenna, and he's the lowest average rating of those who qualify, 5.7 under Hutchie's scores. And Joe Pigott's only played 4, obviously only scored 3 goals all season, not scored since October, and his average rating on those 4 games is 6.3. So I'm going to start with you, Hutchie. What can we say about these 2?
Yeah, like Norwood's peak came pre McKenna, really, didn't he? He did score at Gillingham in that game. And obviously, did he score the winner against Wickham? He did, didn't he? Yeah. So he was kind of on the peak then when McKenna took over. So he helped the manager get off to a really good start. But since then, I really don't like him in the kind of the left-sided forward role that we've seen him in a couple of occasions. I don't think you get the best out of him there. He's a central striker all day long. That's what he needs to be, and that opportunity hasn't really been there so much for him. He's had games where he's gone through it and not seen an awful lot of the ball. Joe Pigott, we've talked about him quite a lot in the last month, haven't we? I think he's got his pluses. There's some nice movement. His use of the ball at Fleetwood was decent. Should have scored at Fleetwood, but I just don't see a player that's really threatening. He doesn't feel like a threat to the opposition too much when he's on the pitch. To me, again, he's not had a consistent run of games to try and show that. But when he has been on the pitch, I've wanted to see more from him.
Okay, Stewie, your thoughts on that striking duo?
Yeah, the Norwood one comes with the caveat of him not playing in his best position. He's best between the width of the penalty box and scoring goals. He's been asked to sort of do a job for the team. So while they've played to Jackson's strengths, maybe Norwood's been a victim of having to do a job for the team a little bit more. But yeah, he did score the winner against Wickham. He did get the opener against Gillingham in the 4-0 win that came after that. Pigott, I'll be a little bit more generous too. I think he's given his lack of games this season, I think it's been very difficult for him to suddenly be parachuted in at times and make an impact. I think he's their best sort of link striker, back to goal type striker. He's been denied by the post on at least a couple of occasions. If one of those goes in, it could be a different story. Ifs, buts and maybes, I know. But he's the only one of these 4 strikers that's under contract going into next season. So who knows? Maybe come McKenna's decision for selection on Saturday, that may come into his thinking a little bit. I don't know.
Anything else to add, Rossi, on these two?
It's just mad that we have Joe Pigott and James Nord on the bench in League One. Any other League One club would snap our hand off to sign one of these players, but they haven't enough game time. But when you got Kane Jackson in form, but now he's injured, so now it's a chance for one of those step up and score the goals for us. That's what we need.
Right then, final ratings, Hutchie. Norwood and Pigott, what are your scores for these boys?
You're on mute.
10?
2 5s.
2 5s. Wow. I thought you were going to score. Right then, Stewie. 2 5s. Anything different there?
I might bump Pigott up to a 5.5.
Oh, Hutchie loves that.
His little face. I'm only doing it. I hadn't actually planned to do any half points, but he told me off air before we started that they were illegal. So that was
They're not illegal. No. They are legal. The host has said they're legal. I just think it's
just
cheat.
Frowned upon.
I think it's a cheat. It's a cheat's way out. You may as well do it out of 20.
Hutchie just thinks that they're disgusting. Roscoe, scores?
Yeah, they're both getting a 5.
Both getting a 5. Here endeth our epic player ratings roundup, boys. That's taken a lot longer than I thought it would. But hopefully some interesting content. Just one final rating out of 10. The team as a whole under McKenna in the first 15 games. I'm springing this one on you, so think on the fly. And I'm going to start with Rossi, so he can't just say what everyone else says.
Crap.
Out of 10.
7 out of 10. I think they've been all right. There's been a few great days, but there's also been some bad games. I know Cheltenham was just Cheltenham playing boring Cheltenham, but I think 7's a fair rating.
7 out of 10. Some might suggest that's maybe a bit low for a team unbeaten in 9 and 11 clean sheets in 15. Watto?
Some might say I probably would agree. Well, I do get what Ross is saying. They have ultimately not. The Wickham game was the first one, but since then they haven't beaten the teams above them that they need to catch. 8. Was thinking of adding a 0.5 on, but I'll go. No, I'll go 8.5. Go on, 8.5.
8.25.
Don't do that. Don't do that to me.
So we've got a 7 from Rossi, 8.5 from Stewie. Hutchie, what are you saying?
I'm gonna give them an 8. I love how solid they've become. I love when everyone is available in the midfield. How they've built that. What's missing is goals, and bucket loads of goals. And those big wins. But I look, the stats you've reeled off there about the clean sheets that's so impressive to have kind of done that to a team that was conceding goals regularly. So 8 for me.
Not impressive to Ross.
Not the playoffs, are we? Not the playoffs.
True. We need it to be showering goals, don't we, Roscoe? That's what we need. Going forward. Right then, boys, I'm going to make an executive decision now as host of this podcast. Mailbag is going to be put on hold because otherwise we've been going for almost an hour and 15 minutes already. There is a press conference this afternoon. If we carry on with everything, we'll still be here talking. So mailbag is going to be held. We'll hold those questions in abeyance. So thanks to everyone who got involved. And next time we do a mailbag, potentially next week, we'll go back and answer those questions. So they will be answered. But let's skip forward now because there's 2 big games to talk about this weekend. And the biggest, my friends, is happening at the Gold Star Ground in Felixstowe on Sunday, live on the BBC Red Button, live on BBC Radio Suffolk. Ipswich Town ladies are about to make history when they play their FA Cup quarter-final against the mighty Hammers of West Ham United, the only third-tier team left in the competition. Roscoe, I'm giving it the big build-up here. How excited are we for this game? And more importantly, have we got a chance? We know they played Man City a couple of years ago in a game since expunged from the record books, but it did happen. And they got tonked 10-0. No shame there. They were a league down than they are now. Man City, superpower. West Ham United, yes, they're a Super League team, but they're lower down in the Super League. Certainly not the power that a Man City or an Arsenal or someone like that would be. So how are we feeling about this, Roscoe?
A lot of people just buzzing. It's a big game for the football club in general, really. On telly, big crowd. Quarterfinals of a cup competition, the FA Cup. It is going to be a very good occasion for all the players, all the fans going to watch. I'm sure it's going to inspire the next generations of, female, women's players. I don't know why I said both female. I don't know why I said that. But no, it's going to be an exciting day, and it is going to be different to the West Ham game to the Man City game, because it's at Felixstowe. We're a league higher, more experienced players in our team. Our younger players have got a bit older, experienced other things. It's going to be a very good day, and it's a big game. I'm going to say big because it is. I'm looking forward to it.
Was it 2,000 people are going to be there? By far the biggest crowd that the ladies will ever have played in front of. Have they got a chance? I mean, it's a big ask, isn't it? But it's not completely out of the question.
No, I don't think it's out of the question. The magic of the FA Cup and all that. West Ham, they're a good team. They've got a few internationals in their side, but on Felixstowe's pitch, anything can happen. I can't see us conceding 10 goals like we did against Man City, but that was a long time ago. It will be a tough game. I think we just got to win those 50-50s and just getting in their faces, and hopefully we can maybe nick an early goal to settle our nerves. But it's going to be an interesting watch.
It's going to be amazing, isn't it? To be live on the BBC Red Button as well is fantastic. And if you want a proper build up to that game, Rossi's done a special Tractor Girls Talk podcast, which should be beneath this one in your feed. So go back and listen to that. Obviously, we'll be there on Sunday. Rossi will be there taking pictures, and Liam from Crew will be penning as a report. You can follow it live, as I say, on the BBC as well. So look out for that one. The day before, though, boys, moving away from the ladies and the biggest game of the weekend, there's another big game at Oxford United for the men. 8 games left. Town are on 60 points. They really have to win pretty much all of their remaining games if they're going to have any hope of getting into the playoffs, which means they're going to have to go to Oxford United, realistically, a team in 4th place, and win, which is a big ask. Stewie, how are you feeling about this one, and what would you do with the Town team?
I thought when I looked at these kind of make or break fixtures at the end of March, Oxford away was the most difficult. Out of the 3, they've won 5 of their last 6. Matty Taylor, a proven goal scorer, 19 goals this season for them up front. Brannigan's a player I really like in midfield. No Morsey is a concern for me going into this fixture. I think it's a game Ipswich need to win to keep these faint hopes alive. I'm not sure they're going to with the personnel and where they're at sort of fitness wise with people.
Do we know if Morsey's definitely out? That's not been confirmed, is it?
Not yet, but I would imagine having come off 2 successive games in a row with a hamstring, I'd be surprised if he can suddenly recover from this one this time. But we'll find out a bit more from Kieran McKenna this afternoon.
Yeah, we've got press this afternoon, so look out for updates from that. So we'll be speaking to Kieran. Hutchie, Oxford United away. What did you have on your little whiteboard of predictions going forward?
Yeah, my little whiteboard has got a D next to it for a draw. They're 2 points ahead of my schedule on this, but my schedule did only have them reaching 75 points, which I don't think will be enough for sixth place this year. So they do need to be ahead of schedule. We're used to Oxford Ipswich games being void of goals. They've played 5 times in League One, and there's been 1 goal in 5 matches.
It's going to go off this Saturday, then,
and that was the 1-0 home. Yeah. But then you look at Oxford are scoring. Oxford are scoring a lot of goals. They scored 2 in their last game, 4 before that, then 2, then 4 again. They scored 4 against Charlton in the middle of February. They've scored 2 against Bolton, another 3 against Portsmouth. They scored 7 at Gillingham.
They're conceding though on the flip side.
They
of
are.
That, I think. So what, Ipswich have conceded 5 in 15 under McKenna. Oxford have conceded 24 in their previous 15 as well. So on the flip side, they can be got at in that respect. But I don't know if these kind of end-to-end... We thought Portsmouth might be that sort of game when we looked at their record sort of coming into it, but ultimately it kind of shook out in a 0-0 as well. So hard to call, isn't it?
What are we doing with the side then, Hutchie? Morsey's out, Evans is out. Is it Backinson and Carroll in midfield? And who's replacing Caden up top?
I'd have Bon. I would go Bon replacing Jackson, and it's Backinson and Carroll in midfield. That's I think is probably the way forward. I'd go Selena and Aluko potentially in that final third with Bon, and then there's not an awful lot. Obviously, we know Burgess will play ahead of Edmondson. So I'd be interesting to hear what McKenna says today about Lee Evans, because we're kind of getting to the territory where that's a valid question for whether how he's getting on with his recovery, whether he might be back or not. But my gut feeling is probably not. And I don't think there's an awful lot more to kind of debate about the team this weekend. Sadly, some key men miss him.
I agree. Let's move on to £1 million picks, Hutchie. Because otherwise we're coming up to a full football match of podcast at the moment. £1 million picks. What are you doing? You lost big last weekend, my friend.
Yeah.
What are we doing this weekend?
Lost £500,000. So there's only £500,000 left. Do you know what I was going to do?
Put it all on.
I was going to put all of it on because I saw that on the particular gambling site that I used to find the odds for this, odds for the Eurovision Song Contest appeared. So I was going to put every penny that was left on Ukraine to win that. But I've since learned that it's actually not until May. I assume that those odds were because it was this weekend. It's not till the middle of May. So I will not be putting all of the money on Ukraine to win. Though I do think at even money, and while I would never, ever encourage gambling, that seems like a good odds to me.
That does seem like a good bet.
That seems like a good bet to me at this point.
Absolutely.
They have confirmed they are indeed entering. So I can't decide what to do. I'm going to let Stu pick. You've got a choice of two. You've got a choice of two, and you've got 50 grand to spend, Stu.
It's not enough,
right? So it's either under 2.5 goals in this game, or over 2.5 goals in this game, and they are both 5 to 6.
Under.
You're going to go under.
Yeah.
I was minded to go over, so.
Well, you gave the choice to me, so
I have given the choice to you. So there we go. 50 grand on under 2.5 goals.
Right then. And how much would that return?
1 second. Under 2.5 goals would be
profit
on that. £91,666.67.
Cash money. Right then. Predictions time. Watto. There's going to be less than 2.5 goals. Quite apt you asked a question about half marks. What's the score going to be? 1.5 to 1 by the sound of it.
I said under 2.5 goals. I think there'll be 2 goals. I think they might both go to Oxford.
Oh,
sorry.
No. Oh, Rossi.
Oh, we're not going to get another 0-0, surely. It can't happen. It can't happen. That is where I'm going to go, but I also think we're going to lose. So 1-0 Oxford. Yeah.
How can you also think they're going to lose?
Did you just say 0-0 and then 1-0 Oxford in the same breath?
Yeah, because it's close, isn't it? It's close.
So what's your actual prediction? 1-0 or 0-0?
1-0 Oxford.
1-0 Oxford. 2-0 Oxford, 1-0 Oxford. Hutchie, what are you saying?
I've got them down for a loss here as well. I've got 2-1.
If Town lose Oxford, is that it?
Yeah.
Done.
I think so.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Done. No Caden Jacksoning the season if they lose at Oxford. I'm saying 5-0 Town. Tremendous win. Really fire themselves up towards that top 6. Right then, boys, this has been an absolutely epic podcast. And friends, I hope you enjoyed it because it has been, as I say, almost a full football match of Ipswich Town chat. Is there anything else you want to mention before we go? Who needs a wee? That'll be me. Anything to mention, friends, before I do my shambolic outro?
No other business.
No other business.
Excellent. So please support our sponsors, Manscaped. Use the code KOA at manscaped.com for 20% off and free delivery. All that excellent clobber they've got on that site. Also support us across our social medias, Kings of Anglia on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes because it helps people find us in the charts visibility wise. And it's also nice to see those 5-star reviews. Had a couple of good ones this week. I am now off, friends. I won't be around. Much celebration I can hear for the next couple of weeks. So I'll leave you in the capable hands of the boys. Who knows who will step into the host chair? Will it be Jason Statham? Will it be Hutch Hogan? Will it be the prospect, Ross Halls? Or will it be the grand porcine, Mike Bacon? I'm excited to find out. I'll be listening to the pod over the next couple of weeks. So make them good ones, boys. I'm sure they will be. And also, friends, look out for Arnold Allen. Ipswich Town fan Arnold Allen has the biggest fight of his career at the O2 this weekend, live on BT Sport, co-main event of USC London. He's fighting Dan Hooker, a fight. If he wins, he will potentially be just one fight away from fighting for the title that Conor McGregor once held. That's how much of a big deal Arnold Allen is. And that's how much of a proper sport we're talking about there. Right then, friends, have a great time. I will see you on the flip side of my break. Hopefully when I come back, Town are very much on the verge of the top 6. Have a great period. Enjoy the game this weekend. And I'll see you next time.